Well, happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with a Vet. As promised today, we have part two with Larry Burke. And before we get started, if you haven't already checked out his book, Quiet Heroes, Stories from the Front Lines of the Vietnam War, go check it out. It's an absolute wonderful read. Really excited to have him come back on and start talking again about his time in the military, as well as his resilience and where he is today. So if y'all would help me, please, to welcome back Larry Burke.
Hey,
Hello. How are you this fine evening?
I've been better with my computer not working, but I'm good. I'm good. I'm not a computer guy, and it just decided to screw up. And I just
Yeah,
used that. I used this afternoon to buy something, but it lost its mind.
it does happen. It's quite
Yes,
all
they
right.
do. All
So
right.
we left off where you were back. You were on what was that? The
The
is it
USS
Fulton?
Bolton.
Fulton,
Yeah.
yes. And just to recap for anybody who has not watched the first part of your interview, they can go out and it is on YouTube, and that is under Larry Burke, Vietnam Navy veteran. So, and that is the part one. So,
And it's
we
also described in my book very well.
it is. It really is. Yes, and I'll have you know, I did have an opportunity to get that read. So,
Good.
a great
So
book,
now you
and
know why they call me Crazy Larry.
it. I have to say, okay, so um, there's a part in your book that talks
Okay.
about, and I believe the title is "Monkey See, Monkey Do."
Yes.
So let's. But I know we left off after that, but I want to go back to that for a minute. Where because I don't remember having the discussion about these monkeys.
No, we didn't.
So tell me a little bit about how that happened, what happened, I guess.
Well, we had a pet monkey. It was a gray squirrel monkey,
Hmm.
and it was given to us by the previous guys on the team that left. They had it
Right.
first, and then they gave it to us. So we she thought we were her parents. She would hang on your side, eat. We'd feed her. She loved it. She loved coffee. And she hung out underneath in the mortar pit, underneath a canopy and a hammock. And then whenever we did anything, she would hang on your side, usually Carl's side, because it was actually given to him. So somewhere, I don't know how the word got out, but the Stars and Stripes, that was the paper over there,
Hmm.
came to do a story on the mortar team. Well, the little punk stole the show. She loved looking in the sight at the lights. There were two lights, a red one and a green one, which we used to line up the mortar when shooting. And she put her front paws on the sight part and looked in it and put her back foot up on the top of the mortar, like where the two mortar would come out. Well, they took the picture of her and talked about her, monkey see, monkey do. That's where it came in. I don't think the mortar team man would do what she was doing. And the story went from being on us to being on her. And they made the front page of the Stars and Stripes, and we virtually got a mention. They mentioned how far away we were from Saigon, and we were a remote base. But basically, Baby, that was her name, Baby, stole the show, stole the article, and we just were like chopped liver.
That, that is so funny. And you can find photos, everybody. You can find photos of the monkey and the mortar tube in this book. It was just so funny when I was reading that. I was like, no way.
Yeah,
That is the
and
funniest.
she was like that though. She hated water. We found the when the Seabees were there and they were building the runway, they left all this runway material and they put tarps over it. Well, it dipped in the middle and it made a swimming pool.
Ah.
And there were only a select few that knew about it. Me, Carl, one of the guys on the mortar that handed me the rounds, and a few others. So we took baby in there, and she did not want to be there. And one of the pictures I have, we had one of the guys, he threw her in the air, and she had nothing but to land in the water.
Oh.
So it was like, well, she stunk a little bit, because she just was a monkey.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. But she basically stole the article.
That's hilarious.
And it is, but she knew it too, the little thing.
Yeah. So let's pick up a little bit. I know we talked toward the end about where you had been. Yes, the Fulton, and
Yeah.
so let's start kind of from that point.
Okay. I got a nom, got my 2 weeks or whatever it was, and I went. Told me I'm going to Fulton, so I show up at Fulton, and I go to personnel to check in, and they say go to the mess hall and meet with. I don't know what his rank was. I guess chief, maybe first class chief. I don't know. But I go down there and there's an office. I walk in. He's wearing white and he doesn't have any symbols on, so I really don't know what he is. And I had my orders or my material, with me. And usually you give them over. Well, I didn't. I had a funny feeling this was not going to be a good thing. So I kept it, didn't give them to him. And they basically were going to send me mess cooking after walking out of a jungle.
Right.
No, you're not. No, you ain't doing it. So he tells me to report to this particular part of the ship where all the mess cooks slept. I looked him square in the eye, made sure he was looking me in the eye. And I said, I am not going there. If I go there, somebody's going to get hurt or die, and it's not going to be me. He was so stunned that virtually he said he had no response, and his mouth was just like open, and his eyes were about the size of saucers. So I got up, kept my work stuff, got up, walked out of his office, and right across the hall, right across the mess hall, was the chaplain. Well, I'm like, might as well go there because I'm probably going to get arrested, and I might as well do it in his office. So I walked over and knocked on the door. He said, come on in. I walked in. I don't know how high he was, but he had enough scrambled eggs on his hat that he probably had trouble picking it up.
Wow.
So he was up there. He was a commander of some sort and a chaplain. So he had his hat off, so I didn't have to salute him. Plus, we were inside. So he said, can I help you? And I said, I'm not sure. But he said, have a seat. Sat down and he says, what's going on? So I told him exactly what I just did. Exactly. And he did about the same thing. His eyes got really big and he really said nothing, but kind of just his look. I was like, I don't think this is good.
Yeah.
He takes my orders. In the meantime, I gave him those. So he's looking at those and he's listening to me and he looks up at me and he says, I'll be right back. Now I'm thinking, put my hands behind my back because I'm going to jail.
Right.
And because I just admitted that somebody's going to get hurt or killed or die, and it's not going to be me if I go mess cooking. So I sit now. I have my elbows on my knees and my hands in my face, chin in my face and my hands, and I'm looking at the floor because I'm pretty much conceded that this is not going to be a good end. And I didn't really care. At that point, I was like, nothing going in my head, nothing. So a while goes by, the door opens, and it doesn't shut. He walks past me. Now, I didn't look up. He walks past me and goes and sits down, and the door didn't shut after him. Then it shuts. So now I'm really thinking, what am I going to do? They're taking me away. So I kept my hands like that and my face like that. And I looked over to the left and there was a pair of shoes there, Carolee, that I could see my face in. They were so shiny.
Wow.
So now I'm saying that's definitely not the MPs for the Shore Patrol. And I look up to him. I go and look up to him, and the chaplain gives me a okay, mouths it, says okay. And so then I look over, and here's another commander. He's got 8 stripes on his arm, so he's been in like a long time. He's got all scrambled eggs, and I'm sitting there like a fool. So I start to stand up. He puts his hand on my shoulder and he says, "Sailors, stay seated." I guess I'm thinking they're trying to keep me calm before they show up to take me away. Kind of thinking that. I really still had sort of a blank thing going on in my head. I wasn't trying to put anything there that I wasn't seeing.
Right.
So I looked at the chaplain again, and he gives me a little thumbs up and says, "It's okay again." Now I'm kind of feeling relaxed. I'm like, why would he do that if something isn't good? So I started to stand up again because he's a commander. I'm supposed to be standing up saluting, or at least at attention.
Right.
He entered the room. That's an automatic attention on deck for the chaplain also. So I started to go again, stand up, and he says, "Sailor, please stay seated." I sit down, and I kind of look at the chaplain and a little bit at him, but mostly kind of back and forth. He's got my orders in his hand, and he says, I am the commander of all engineering department on this ship. That's everything. That's everything that has to do with the subs, the boat, the ship going out to sea. He controls that. The people that repair the periscopes, he controls everything engineering.
Wow.
And he says to me, "You are now in my shop, in shop 38, one of my places. They are expecting you. I already called them and told them you're coming." And he says, "By the way, the mess cook thing, don't even worry about it. It'll never get mentioned."
Nice.
So apparently he went over there and told the guy that I just told all that to that he didn't know. You don't know him.
You've never seen it before.
You've never seen him before. He didn't step in your office. You're done with him. Basically, he must have said something to him, because I never, ever, ever, ever heard another word about that the whole time I was on that ship for over a year.
Nice.
And I went through the mess hall quite a bit, the line.
Yeah. Right.
And I saw him.
He did not see you.
No. Very, very like, I don't know who he is. He doesn't even look familiar.
Yep.
So I get to 38 shop and find out, I didn't even know what it was. I get up there and I find out they do everything on a submarine to make the submarine go out to sea, come back, go up and down. They control everything. They're the main people that take and repair the submarines while they're in against the ship, other than the periscopes. But everything on that submarine, our shop took care of, replacing motors, valves, gaskets, all of that. So I walk into the first class guy's office, and the chief is in there. This chief is like, he's hysterical. The man he's not a chief. He was like the most down-home guy I've ever met. I walked in and he says, "Hey, I heard a lot about you." I went,
Just what you want to hear, right?
Yeah. And the first class, and I guess, I don't know what it was. That's what he said. And then the first class guy goes, "Yeah, it sounds all good to us." I'm like, "Oh shit, they lied." Somebody lied. And he goes, we're going to put you in as a ordering, for the subs. I'm an E2. I'm an engineman. I'm not a stockman. Again, doesn't seem to matter in the Navy, especially with me. I did stuff that you're not even supposed to think about in the Navy. A baker, mortar man. So I walk over into the supply section where and there's two guys. And I'm like, okay, where's the guy that's going to help me? I'm looking around thinking, they got two. Well, they didn't give me a person. It was me. We have a submarine squadron attached to us. That's 10 submarines.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a
And
lot of
one
work.
bigger one. And one called the Sturgis, which is even bigger than a normal attack sub. We also repaired that. I got to order all the parts to make those things go up and down and keep underwater and work. I must have had, Carolee, I don't know what my security clearance was, but it had to be through the ceiling because I knew every single part that went on a submarine, the nuclear submarines.
Yeah, yeah, you would have to.
I have no idea what it was. I didn't care. I just got appointed the job. So it was like, all right, there we go. So I did that. And through the process, you have to write a chit. It's all handwritten, no computer. Everything's paper. And there's multiple, you do multiple stops and you give the pieces of the paper to different departments so they can file it and know what's going on with the submarines. The last person to sign it was the commander. So I saw him pretty much every day, because I was ordering for every sub that was connected. There was usually 4 subs tied up to us all the time.
Wow.
2 would go out, 2 would come in, 2 would go out, whatever. There was always 4 subs next to us, always. And they were always getting worked on. That's what they came to us. We're a subtender. So I'm ordering the parts. I'm doing my thing. I see the commander every day. And one day I walk in and he says, shut the door. So now I thought maybe they finally got caught up to me when they're going to put me in jail.
Full circle, right?
Yeah, it just passed through. It was like, why is he telling me to shut the door? He's never done that before. And I've been on the ship working with him for 3 months, maybe. So I shut the door and I'm standing in front of him and I said, yes, sir. And he says, okay, here's what we're going to do. He says, from now on, if you come into my office and there is nobody else in here, drop the sir shit. And I said, okay, sir. And he says, what did I just say?
Right? Come on now. Let's get this right.
Brain work. So I didn't really give it much thought. But I think what really happened with me and him is I was doing a job of 2 guys. And I was doing it so good by myself that he virtually became my friend.
Nice.
Not the commander sailor, man to man type of situation. And also he knew exactly what I just came from. He knew everything about me, where I was, what I did, the whole everything. So I said, okay, that's cool. Left the office, did my thing. And we had an officer. He was a highest chief, got to be the highest chief, and they virtually just made him feel good and bumped him up to an ensign. They made him an ensign. He didn't deserve to be anything, especially an ensign. They should have just told me, done. You're master chief, you're done. So I'm walking past his office, and I normally didn't have to. And he starts screaming out the door at me, Burke, get in here. I never saluted the man the whole time I was on the ship. I'd give him one of these, past my head type of salutes. Like, you're not worth a salute. You shouldn't even be what you are. So I walk in the office, and Carolee, he starts tearing me upside one side and down the other, and he doesn't have an excuse or a reason. Just doing it. I look at him. I didn't say a word. All of a sudden, I look, and he kind of stops, and I said, are you done? And I walk out.
Wow.
No respect, nothing. No salute, just turn and walk out. Like, are you done? Walk out. So I go and get my chits, go back to the commander. I walk in and the commander looks at me. He goes, and there again, he goes, Burke, what's wrong? I must have looked like my head was on fire or something.
Yeah.
So I said, well, I don't really want to say. And he says, yes, you do. The man gave me an order, basically. Yes, you do. So I told him what this guy had just done. Officer, he was actually our officer in charge of our shop. That's what this guy's job was.
Ah.
Never saw the man. He never came to the shop. The first class and the chief basically did all the work. He just sat around in his little office and played like he was a big guy. So I told the commander what just happened. He signs all the chits, takes his copy. I walk out. Don't hear anything, don't see anything. But I'm walking down the hall away from his office, and here comes that officer walking towards the commander's office. I give him the half-ass salute, pass by, go up to the shop, do my thing, more chits, blah, 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 back to the commander that same day, because there was a lot of work going on the submarines. I walk in the office, and he had some people that did things for him, like they were whatever they were rank-wise, but that was their job, to coordinate what he was doing on the ship, because it was a big ship. Right. And had a lot of things going on. So I walk in the office, and one of the guys that I kind of was friendly with looks at me and calls me over. I walk over, he goes, I have no idea what just went on in there, but I heard some screaming from that office.
Ooh.
And he said, I think I overheard something about, I'm going to court-martial you. So I'm like, okay, the door was shut. His door. So I knocked on the door. He said, come in. I walked in. And he says, everything's taken care of. Don't worry about a thing with what. And he didn't say what. He said, everything's taken care of. Don't worry about it. Okay. What did he just pull off now for me? So I leave his office. I go and I purposely walk past this guy's office. Purposely. I didn't have to. I could go up the center of the ship. I walk past and he yells out at me, hey, Burke, come on in here. Real cheerful. Too cheerful. I walk in, he goes, I think we got off on the wrong foot. Yeah, because you just got threatened to be freaking court-martialed, you asshole. For going after me, because I'm doing my, and again, he never stated anything why he was yelling at me. Never. So I looked at him again. He kind of, and I said, are you done? And I turned and walked out again. Now I know I'm protected. I got a lieutenant commander that likes me a lot and going to court-martial this asshole if he does anything bad to me again. So I go and keep doing my job. I just go. They called me Squirrel, Carol Lee, because I was like a squirrel running around the ship.
Wow.
Getting things done. Because the subs don't wait.
Right. They
have a timetable to be there. They have a timetable that they're going to be gone. If you're not done with fixing it, you're in trouble. Because they don't sit there and go, oh, we'll just wait another day. It's just fine. No. So one of the subs came in, got a lot of work done. It had a new ball valve put in. They have two of them in the reactor room. A new ball valve that regulates the cooling water coming off the reactor, which isn't very cool, but it regulates it. And there's two of them. They're a titanium nylon ball valve, and they're not very small. They're pretty good size because the water going around the reactor is quite a bit. There's quite a bit of water keeping it cool. I get a call that from the sub 238 shop that they were testing the ball valves and it leaks. And it's brand new. They cannot leave the ship with just one ball valve. It don't happen. Everything on a submarine, everything there's duplicate. Everything. The only thing that's not duplicate is the crew guys. They got one of each of them. But so my commander calls up to the shop and says, let me talk to me. So I get on the phone with him and he says, I'm giving you the responsibility to get that ball valve replaced as far as getting another one. You're the commander. I'm thinking, I'm just a freaking, I just ordered the parts. So I knew who it was. I knew the company because they're a Navy supplier. So I had all of that on file, all of those companies. So I find it. They're in Massachusetts. I call them up and some guy answers the phone. I don't know who he was. And I said, I need to talk to somebody with a lot of authority. I can help you. I said, no, you can't.
You got to love those people, right?
You don't know. I said, I'm calling from the USS Fulton. And I said, I kind of lied. Well, I stretched the truth. I said, I'm in charge of supplying a ball valve that you just got to our ship, and is on a sub, leaks. They cannot go out. Do you still want Navy contracts? The guy was, I'll be right back. Next thing I know, I'm talking to the president of the company. And he said that when he came on the phone. He goes, I am the president, CEO of this company. I don't remember who it was, what they were, name. And he says, what's the problem? I said, well, a ball valve that you sent to and we put on a sub leaks. We need one tomorrow. I mean, we need one in an hour or 2 hours. He goes, well, and I said, there's no well in this. If you have one, it's coming to the USS Fulton and it's going to be here soon. Apparently they had when it was supposed to go somewhere else. Well, it never went somewhere else. It came to the USS Fulton by police escort.
Timing is everything, right?
Yes, it is. And lying a little bit. Well, I just stretched the truth. I didn't have authority to stop them contracts, but my commander did.
Yeah.
And he's the one that told me to call him. So they bring the ball valve, and the process of taking that out, you have to freeze the line on both sides, and they use liquid nitrogen. Mm. So you're walking you're carrying a container, of course, onto a submarine with 365 degree below zero stuff that if you drop it on the hull, it'll crack it.
Yeah.
So who do you think they picked to do the job? Me. So I'm like, okay, I feel pretty confident about my everything. So I had to carry it from the container down the ramp onto the sub and then hand it to another guy that came up and down the ladder. Then I had to climb down the ladder and assist them. They made a trough type of thing underneath the line to catch. Not too much of it actually went anywhere. It was so cold, it just virtually just froze the line. There was too much leakage. We took the valve out. They put the new valve in. They slowly thawed the line because you got to do it, in a certain way or it'll crack.
Yeah.
Ball valve worked. Sub went out to sea.
Nice.
Commander contacted me and said, great job. I'm glad you did it. I wouldn't have been as nice.
Did you tell him what it was that you said and how you got it there?
Oh, yeah, he knew. I told him. And that's why he said to me, great job. I wouldn't have been as nice. So obviously he would have said, you already lost your contract. Get the shit here or else.
Yeah, I suppose that's true, huh? That's funny.
Yeah, it was fun. It was, and then right after that, they tell us we're going on a med cruise. I tried to get off the ship because I'm like, I just came back from Vietnam. Now you want to send me overseas again? But I saw a psychiatrist, believe it or not, on the base. And the psychiatrist said, no, I think you're fine. You can go. I said, what? Are you kidding me? So then my job became I had to order enough parts for 10 submarines for as long as we're deployed.
Wow.
We were going to Italy. Italy had just decided to get back into NATO. They dropped out for a while, and they were in trouble that communism was trying to take over Italy. They were having rallies, and a lot of communist stuff was filtrating in. The people in charge of Italy, I don't know what they're considered, I guess president maybe, said, no, that's not happening.
Yeah.
We're going to get NATO back. We're going to get back into NATO and get America here so this shit stops. So we were the first ship to go to Corsica, the island of Corsica in Sardinia. And I don't know how many years it was because I didn't really pay attention, but obviously quite a while. And so we had to go there. So I had to order, and I think we stayed 3 months, maybe. Yeah. So I had to order enough parts for 3 months of submarine repairs. Because they didn't sit there next to the ship and just say, oh, well, all 10 of us are just sit here. We don't need to do anything. We're in the Mediterranean. Well, that ain't how it works. So I went nuts. I was getting on the ship like at dawn and leaving the ship very, very late. There were parts coming into the warehouse every day. There's truckloads of stuff coming that I had to bring onto the ship and store.
Oh,
and store it per submarine. Every submarine had to be its own thing.
right.
So I'm doing all that. I'm getting it done. I get everything going great. And we leave for Italy. I had to stand watches in the engine room. Finally got to do some of what I was supposed to be doing, an engineman. So the engine room on our ship, we had 2 engine rooms. We had a top speed of 15 knots. You know how slow that is? That's slow.
Yep.
Even if we had a tailwind, I think maybe 18.
Oh.
And so it was going to take us a month to get from the Atlantic, from Groton, Connecticut to Italy. A month. We're on to see a month. Wonderful. It was kind of enjoyable because I didn't have to do anything. My job was done. I did my job. So I had a lot of spare time. I stood watches in the engine room. But we encountered what I consider almost a typhoon.
Oh no.
We were heading pretty much straight across, and all of a sudden you could see this massive thing of black sky. And it was all the way right to the water. That's how bad it looked.
Mm.
So our captain came on and said, we're going to try to go a little bit south and maybe far enough. We can't go too far, but far enough that we can come around and not get in the major part of it. I don't know how bad it was because I wasn't anywhere in that situation where I could see, see the what was going on with the weather, but it didn't look good. So we went pretty far south for about 2 days, and then he came back on and said, we can't go any further south. We got to turn back towards east. So he turned, and because of the condition, because of the way the storm was coming, he tried to aim the ship into the weather.
Right.
So he was basically diving through these 30 and 40-foot waves. And they made any of the outer decks off limits. That's how much we were crashing through this water.
Now wait, what were you on a submarine or were you on?
No, this is the ship. This is the ship, the Fulton. Now,
back onto got it.
So the Fulton is a 685-foot ship. It's not a little tiny ship. 685 feet long, but it's old. It
Yeah.
was the keel was laid in 1943. That
Oh, wow.
so we're going through this storm, and virtually the rivets are shaking in the walls
Mhm.
because of the force of what we're hitting. So me and my buddy decide that we're going to walk out onto the main deck by where our sleeping area was, which is at second to the top. 38 shop was the top. Where we slept, the bunks we were in was the second deck down, basically almost the top deck. Doors are latched. The ship's crashed through a wave, and we decide to open the door, open the hatch, and walk out onto the deck. So we do walk out onto the deck, and Carolee, I could see the keel. The water disappeared next to us.
Oh, wow.
I looked out, and here comes about a 40-foot wave right at the side of the boat ship. Literally, it was above where we were standing. That's how tall this wave was. We run back in, latch the door, and in all the compartments of a ship, they have like a level, like you can see what kind of tilt you're getting. So this thing slams in to the side of the ship, and I'm holding on to the racks, and I look up, and going into one of the other sections of the racks, there's one of those levels, and it's tilting. The ship is leaning to the left, and I'm watching this thing go and go and go. At about 45 degrees, you're on the side. You're gonna go over.
Oh, yeah.
It's leaning and it's leaning, and I'm looking at my buddy, and I'm going, "We're done. We're gonna sink." About that time, a wave came from the left side of the ship, about the same size, hit the freaking ship and straightened it up.
Uh,
It went
uh,
perfectly straight, and we kept going. We get out of the storm. Everybody survives. We don't get, other than being sick, I couldn't eat. You can't eat. You got to sit on the floor. You got to sit on the floor to eat. The tables wouldn't stay. They would be like everywhere.
oh
Chairs.
my gosh.
Yeah, it was rough. So we get out of that, and our captain, we're in beautiful blue water, absolutely gorgeous, flat as could be, almost scary flat.
Oh, wow. The calm
And
after the storm.
yes, it was exactly what it was. The storm had gone through, and it just made everything calm. So we stopped the ship. He has a swim call.
Yeah.
Puts things down the side of the ship so you can climb in and out if you wanted to, or you could just jump off one of the hatches that had on the side where the ramps were down to the subs. So I'm like, what the hell? I'll jump in. So I jump in, and I'm in the water, and they announce over the intercom, the closest land is 3 miles straight down. I got out of the water like now.
Wow. I have
So
I have a quick question here.
sure.
From Graham Marsden, 4130. He says, "Is there any Mockle misers around? Misers. And then, have you ever thought of becoming a Mockle miser?"
I don't know what that is.
I don't either. Okay, so Graham, go ahead and put some more detail in there, and then
Yeah,
we'll have him answer this during the question
I'll
and
answer it.
answers at the end. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. So, okay,
That's all
so
right.
you're swimming. You're out now. You're like,
Yeah,
I'm done with that.
we get to the Straits of Gibraltar, and that's where you go through. Spain's on one side, Portugal's on the other. I think Portugal. I think it is. But we had to stop. There was a submarine that had some really bad problems, and we had the people to fix it. 38 shop. So they loaded a bunch of guys on a boat off the ship, and they went and worked on it. And apparently they couldn't fix it. This sub had to be towed back to the States
Oh, wow.
above water.
Which is not.
But at the same time, through that storm, we blew a packing out of our prop, where the prop went through the hull. Blew a packing out. Well, you can't go to dry dock. So we're sitting there in the Straits of Gibraltar, and crew came, swimming guys that could swim, and they put a new one in while we were there. Put a new packing in. We took off, went into the Mediterranean. Absolutely gorgeous water, more blue than the water we had out in the ocean.
Oh,
And
wow.
I went to the base, and it's the base that we were on is two islands. And if you look at Italy, there's the bottom of the boot. If you look, there's
Right.
two little dots out in the water. Those are the islands of Sardinia and Corsica where we were at.
Oh, okay.
Um, and that's where we stayed for 3 months. And I didn't have any job. I could go and do whatever I wanted all weekend long, go and whatever. I had no restrictions. I had nothing to do. The parts were ordered. If there was a sub alongside, 38 shop worked on it, not me. I just ordered everything. I didn't fix them. My job was to get the parts. Their job was to make them work.
Right.
So I did a lot of just going out and checking out that country, that part of the Italy. I never went to the mainland. I didn't need to. The islands were more what I wanted to have, the way I was feeling about, coming out of Vietnam and being over there. But they had some beautiful hills and things that overlooked the Mediterranean that back in World War II, they were like outposts. Stop the influx of Germans and Japanese. That was like their protection against anything coming in, especially in the Mediterranean. They're pretty confined. So we hung out at those and played in the mountain, in the hills, and actually got to play soccer against a Italian Navy guys.
Oh, wow.
And we put together a team, and they showed us how to play soccer. And I actually played
Nice.
soccer when I was in high school, but no, they actually, we split they showed it. We were so bad, they split the team, gave us a few of their guys so we could actually have fun.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
funny.
have fun. And it was fun. It was quite fun. Got to go to some beaches that the ladies don't have to wear tops.
A huge
And
beach.
virtually any beach was like that. If they wanted to, they'd just take their top off. Okay.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely difference in, between the US
Italian.
and
Yeah. Yeah. The
Italy.
European people they just they do things different. And that was one of them. Had a good time on some of the beaches. Saw some really, went to a disco.
Ah.
Just went there to see what it was like. And, they're still doing disco, and we're like doing rock and roll, It was Woodstock and everything else. I mean, they're still doing disco. But those two islands were tourist islands. A
Oh,
lot of
wow.
German, a lot of French, a lot of English, touring, just visiting. And you kind of tell because they'd have backpacks on, or they weren't talking Italian when they walked past you. It was like, that ain't Italian.
Yeah, right.
You could kind of tell. But we kind of became the guys I hung around with. A lot of them didn't have to do anything either. They were kind of in the same situation I was. Their job was done already. So one day we were walking around in the food area. They had a couple restaurants, and we see a guy a small little store. And we walk in and we're like talking to him. He understands a little bit of English. And we asked him, can you make a pizza? He didn't know what it was. Wait a minute, you're Italian. and he had bread dough or dough. So he didn't have any round pans. He had a square one. So we kind of directed him what to do. Spread the dough out. You got wonderful tasting sauce or gravy, whatever. Lots of mozzarella. It's hanging above, hanging off the rafters.
Wow.
So put that on, put the sauce on, put the cheese on, and baked it in his bread oven. Perfect.
Nice.
And he took it out and we devoured it. Went by, kept going. We going by quite often. He was making pizzas now. People were coming in wanting a pizza. So he's in there making pizzas. We changed the environment.
Little taste of home, right?
Yeah, we changed the environment of Corsica. Had a good time, even though I didn't want to go. It was enjoyable. The trip home was totally uneventful. We had a little bit of a storm in the Med, but once we got out onto the ocean, it was clear sailing all the way home. Thank goodness. But one of the things, we were out one day late in the mountains, in the hills, and we came down, and there's this. It wasn't even a carnival. It was a guy set up a bumper car.
Really?
Thing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Brand new, and it wasn't one of them ones he bought and it was like a used one. It was brand new. So Americans, we walk past, and there's these two people, two cars, and they're riding around in circles. They're not hitting each other. I guess they're Italian. I don't know what nationality. I don't really. We just stood there looking like, when are they going to hit? So walk over, and there's 6 of us. So we buy tickets, get in the cars, and we start beating the hell out of each other. They stop, watch us, and go, "Oh, that's what you're supposed to do." They join in. So now we're all banging and doing what you're supposed to do in a bumper car. And we bought tickets, so we're like, it must be time for us to quit. He didn't really shut anything off. So we kind of pull over where we park and get out. And he says, he's waving us, "Go, go." So we go back out and keep doing it. And I'm driving around like on one side where you can see out into the street. And I look out, there's a freaking line of people waiting to get in. There was nobody there when we started this. Again, we changed the scenery. The Americans get there and everything changes to whatever. So we finally pull over and get out. The man was ecstatic. He's shaking our hand. He's giving us a hug. He's like, "I'm going to make money." Nice. People are going in. We're stood there and watched it for a while, and they kicked right into it. They knew. They didn't start driving around in circles. They were like, "Oh, we're going to do what them Americans just did."
The way it should be done.
Yeah. So then we just come home, and I was home I wasn't very much longer, and I got out. It wasn't too much longer after we came back, and because I only had a little over a year left, maybe about a little, not quite a year actually. But they extended my stay, I think a month. I don't even know why, but it was like, okay, whatever. It's the Navy. I want to jump back a little bit.
Yeah.
Remember, I was talking about my dad going racing when I was young.
Yes.
Well, I am not sure if he bought it for me or somehow I got it. I had a Kodak Instamatic camera, the one that folds up.
Yes.
And they have a pack of 8 pictures. Well, going with the races, I actually started taking pictures. I was the photographer for the United Racing Club. They didn't have a photographer. I was the photographer. Now I'm taking pictures with a still camera. Basically, that's what an Instamatic is, of racing cars. They're racing. Yep. And I still have every picture that I took, and they look like brand new.
Nice.
Some that Kodak had something so good with their film, with their picture, that type of picture.
Yeah.
They never faded. They didn't fade. Color picture.
Kodak back then, it was a great brand. A
Oh
great
yeah.
brand.
And it's folded up,
Mhm.
folded into that little case.
Yeah.
And usually I had like 3 packs of pictures because there's only 8 in a pack.
Right.
The other thing you had to do after you pulled it out of the
You rip it out,
camera, yeah, you had to put it under your arm to develop it. You had to have heat.
warm it up. Yep.
Yeah, put it in this little metal thing, and you put it under your arm and warmed it up, and then you had a picture. You could actually see it developing. That was crazy too.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I just learned from the United Racing Club. They now have a site on Facebook where people are putting pictures on. I'm going to have to put pictures on there. These people ain't going to believe.
That's
They've never,
amazing. Oh, I'm
they,
excited for
they
you.
have never seen these pictures. Never. Nobody's ever seen them because I have them. The only person that has seen it is my once girlfriend, Jody, who her dad owned a car. She's seen them all. And she's like I have 3 pictures of her car in different paint jobs. And she's like, these people are going to flip out. They're going to see this stuff and go, who is this guy?
That'll be so cool to see.
It will. And so once I got out and went through 2 marriages, I decided I was going to race cars.
Okay. Now, did you
Since
have this plan before you got out, or was it after you got out?
I actually had racing cars planned when I was in high school.
Okay. I know we talked about that, and I know that that was something that you really loved doing. I just
Yeah.
wasn't sure if you'd already had a job lined up or something else
Well,
in
I did.
mind.
I just worked. I pretty much got a job as soon as I got out being a mechanic. But the racing thing came after my second marriage. When I got divorced, I was like, I'm going to finally do what I really want to do, and that's race cars. Try it. I might not be good, but I'm going to try. So my dad found me a car in Jersey. I was living in Wisconsin. So I went and picked the car up. It was a complete car, trailer, motor, car, everything.
Wow.
Yeah. The guy was literally getting out of late model racing. I took it to Wisconsin, got the rule book, and realized that my car did not match their rules at all.
Wouldn't qualify.
I had to do so. I at the steel mill, I became really good friends with people that had a crane company, and I talked them into letting me have a bay in where they worked on their cranes and kept their cranes to rebuild my race car.
Wow.
Strip all the metal off that I had to get off, put all new metal on. They had a welder. I could use the welder. And I virtually redid the framing of the car, the way the body had to fit on the car, where the bars had to be. Because my side bars were outside the car. They called them booger bars.
Right.
Everything had to be underneath the body. So the body looked clean. So they let me use their shop. I rebuilt, I put new bumpers on, I did everything. And started working on sponsorships. There was a restaurant I went to in Port Washington, right near the lake. And I approached them and asked them if they wanted to do something. They were like, sure. And I got them for a sponsor. And then there was a trucking company. A guy came in there and ate breakfast every day. He owned a trucking company. Talked him into it. So I had a couple little sponsors, and I was like, no, I need something better if I'm going to really do this. So a guy, I was living in Saukville, right near the steel mill. And this guy, I think I might have even met him in a restaurant. He's looking for somebody to maintain his equipment. His company was a Teflon coating company that coated metal, and you heat it up to bond it to the metal. It's
Right.
called Process 218. Well, in the neighborhood of where I live in that part of Wisconsin, there were 6 cheese factories. They all needed it because they're augers and they're tubs, and anything that was in contact with cheese, it stuck to it.
Right.
So with this 218 process, it just slid off. So they got more cheese because they didn't have to scrape it and throw it away. And virtually they just had to wipe it down and start another process. So the guy jumped on board. I mean, he jumped in both feet. He gave me any kind of money I wanted because I was fixing his equipment, and he had a lot of money. With the cheese factories, he was getting hand over fist money. I mean, they were just feeding the money and we were doing the work. He sees the car. I take him and show him the car, and he says to me, I'd like to try driving. Now, I hadn't driven either, other than go-karts. And I looked at him and I went, yeah, you know, he's putting up a lot of money. All right, I'll let you try it. You know, I'll let you do it. So the one track we went to is called Beaver Dam, Wisconsin. First practice of the season. They didn't even have a race yet. They had a lot of practices back to back to back. So you could go out on the track numerous times. And there were 3 different types of cars. There was a late model, a modified, and a street stock. And I picked the late model class just because of the way, that's what I wanted. So we get to the track. I go out first, and the car's okay. I had worked on it a little bit with what I knew about suspension. It was okay. I wasn't the best. I wasn't the worst. I passed people. I pulled in, and he decided he said, I'm going to go out. So he had a helmet. He bought a fire suit. He had a helmet, puts it on, gets in the car. Carolee, my grandmother, drives faster on a road. My guys that I had, me and the crew that a couple of them were from the steel mill. We're standing there looking out and going, has he got it in reverse? He goes down the straightaway, gets to the corner, he backs off like, and going through the corner. Everybody's going flying by him. One guy ran it, kind of hit him in the back, like, get out of the way. So he finishes the practice, and he comes in, gets out of the car, takes his helmet off, and I'm standing there, and I walk up to him, and he says, it scares me. I looked him right in the face. I said, you're done. You'll never drive. If that scared you, where you're not even racing, you're done.
Yeah.
So he virtually decided that he was not a driver and that he would just keep giving me, backing me. So we ran Beaver Dam, and then we ran another track called Hales Corners. It was in the city, right in the middle of Milwaukee, pretty much. Yeah, it was. It's gone, obviously. And they ran late models there, but they're just at Beaver Dam. You ran heats. They just stuck me in the back because I'm a new guy, and I qualified, which kind of upset a lot of their guys because I'd never been there before. Went to Hales Corners, and they were a little bit more sophisticated late models. They ran time trials.
Oh.
So again, I did it, but I knew what the car was pretty much capable of. And it was a smaller track. It was a little tiny bull ring, real small. So I get in line of time trial. I'm watching the other guys. That's the other thing I was doing. I was sitting in my car, but I was watching the other cars. I'm watching how they approached the corner, where they slid through the corner, where they picked up the gas, where they picked up the brake. I tried to see that. And it was my turn. So I slammed the pedal down, went out on the track, went into turn 1 and 2, and car set, went through the corner, and I slammed it. I don't know how far down on the throttle. I'm pretty sure it was right to the floor. Go through 3 and 4, car goes pretty good. Go into the start finish, and I'm like, I'm going harder into the turn, further. Where I braked earlier. I'm going a little further. I'm going to see what happens. So I went a little further, and I spun out. So my lap was done. So I pulled in. Even with my single lap, I made it into a heat race, and I wasn't in the back. one
Wow.
lap. So I'm
Wow.
like, but when I went to Hales Corners, I met up with a guy that had a speed shop, and he kind of gave me some input, tire pressures, what to do with some of the things I needed to do for Hales Corners. So that helped. So I made the heat, qualified, and made the feature. And these
Yeah.
guys got some money in their late models. I got a piece of crap that virtually this guy dumped out from New Jersey. I have no idea what the motor had in it, how much horsepower it had. I had nothing. I didn't even know how old it was. I just knew it started and ran.
Right. Yeah.
So I qualified, finished the feature, didn't get wrecked. Don't remember where I finished, but I actually got a check for my finishing position. I kept it for the longest time, but I think I finally got rid of it. And then I just started racing at one track, kind of stayed at, and then I quit my job. Told the steel mill people to stick it in their ass, and I walked out. Called my old man, said, I'm coming home. Moved back
How
to
old were
Jersey.
you then?
Took the race car, loaded it up on a trailer, back to Jersey.
How old were you then?
I was, let's see, that would be 73, 4. Yeah. So I was probably 75. So I was probably, let's see, 61, 51, 30s. Yeah. Probably my 30s.
Wow.
And drove back to Jersey with the car. And actually took that car and went back to the track that the guy who raced it before me, Flemington Speedway. And raced at Flemington with the late model till they were basically trying to get rid of that class, and we were losing cars. They weren't paying us any money. They were taking our laps away. So I kind of saw that the class was going to be done. Made friends with who's mentioned in there, Jim Romeo, in my book,
Yep.
and he had a car, a modified, which is they call a lot of people know them at big block modifieds. Well, it's the same car, but it's a small block. He had one for sale. It was a winning car, won features there. So I knew it was a good car. And Jim was one of those guys that when you got friendly with him, he'd give you the shirt off his back. And I don't know why, but he kind of liked me right away. And he gave me that car, and he gave me everything that went to that car, because the cars he bought was a completely different chassis. So he couldn't use any of it.
Right.
And I put the car together, and I ran Flemington for 4 years. That was 80 up to 86. And 87, 88, 89, I ran Flemington. Then they paved it. The young kid, his father had a dirt. When the kid took over, he ruined the track. All he wanted to do was pave it and sell the property and make $1 million. That was his end game. That was his end game. And when they paved it, just prior to that too, I had started working for Jim on a dirt car that he had. I'd do my thing, then I'd work with him, and I'd do my thing, and then I'd work with him. So I was kind of flopping back and forth, racing and helping, but I was learning at the same time.
Right.
Which, when you run a dirt car, there's a lot to learn, because every track changes. So I'm working with Jim, and Jim's really helping me a lot. And Bruce's Speed. Between the two of them, I was learning a lot. And we had a driver. Jim had a driver. He went through a couple drivers till he actually hooked up with this guy, and his name was C.D. Coville. Well, because of the initial CD and his way of driving, he became known as Crash and Destroy.
Not good.
But it wasn't his way. CD when he was in a car, if it was a really good car and he knew he was faster than you, he'd move you out of the way.
Hmm.
He didn't wreck you. He would move you.
Interesting.
And he knew how to do it. He was really good at doing it. So when Jim got him in the car, Jim knew his reputation with moving people. So he bought a lot of rub rails and he bought a lot of front bumpers. Because generally after each feature, and we got it back to the shop, the front bumper would be bent in the middle from
Oh, wow.
moving. The rub rail on the sides, sometimes they were bent in, and when you pull them off, they go boing, and then they're done. You can't put it back in.
Yeah.
So, but he won a lot. He won a lot of races. And that's why Jim hired him.
Right.
Jim knew his techniques for driving, and he knew he didn't crash a lot. It was just a bad reputation because of his name, his initials.
That's so interesting.
It is. It was cool. And I learned from him, CD, another really good thing. I said, CD, when there's an accident in front of you, what do? He goes, I drive into it. Okay. He goes, generally, when you get there, they're not going to be there.
Right.
And he says, if you stop or go to stop, you're probably going to get slammed in the back and then you'll be in the wreck.
Yep.
So I virtually just drive right at where the wreck is, and I might hit somebody, but I'm not going to be wrecked. And that's basically what I took from what he said. I was like, yeah, well, it makes sense. You slam on your brakes, the guy behind you that's right on your butt, he's going to run right into you and you're going to be the wreck.
Yeah.
So we went with CD a lot of different places. He won a lot of races. And the car we had, great chassis, great motor, great everything in the car that needed to be was top notch. The body, not so much. And we named it, the crew, we named it the War Wagon. Because there's Zeus buttons. You ever heard of a Zeus button? It's a quarter turn retainer. Well, you got a spring and you put this thing in and you twist it, and it's a quarter turn and it locks. It'll lock the body. Well, they were so bad. There was nothing lined up. We had to bolt the body on.
Oh, gosh.
We couldn't use the Zeus buttons. You had to be bolted on. That's why I named War Wagon. So we never really had to take anything off at the track anyhow. So it was like, who cares? We take it apart at the shop, you just unbolt it and you're good to go. So we went to this track called Bridgeport. Bridgeport at one time was a 5/8 mile, really fast racetrack, really fast. In a modified, big block modified, they were probably turning 140 mile an hour on the backstretch into the turn. And this is dirt. So CD gets a heat race. He's going around. This guy keeps chopping him. Coming down on him, chopping him off. CD would go on the outside, kind of come under me, chop him off. Now, we don't have radios, but we're seeing it from the pits. Jim kind of looks down the line of us and goes, he ain't liking this. Go down the backstretch. CD really gets on it coming out of 2. He gets underneath the guy and he just stays right there. The guy goes to chop him. CD goes right over his left front tire and goes in the air, straight up in the air. Lands, literally goes over this guy's car, lands on his nose. The car goes up in the air again and goes over the fence.
Oh, no.
Right over the fence. Now, there's no catch fence. It's just a guardrail.
Right.
Clears the guardrail. We're standing in the pits going, oh, it's junk. Not seeing where it landed. We just saw it go leave the track. But it left the track he left the track upside down. So there again, we figure, it's garbage. It's junk. Well, the guys from the track run up to the fence and they're standing on the fence looking over. Now we're in the pits going, why aren't they going over the fence? He's got to be upside down. He might be on fire, whatever.
Right.
So they're just standing there looking and we're going, what the hell? There's a road that went from where CD went out to the pits. All of a sudden, here he comes, driving. The car's like driving. It's like, rah, 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 and he pulls into the pit. We start going around the car. Jim says, springs and shocks and torsion bars. He landed on his 4 wheels.
Wow.
Flat on all 4 wheels when he went over the fence. The car literally
couldn't have put money on that.
Oh, there was impossible. The car literally passed over the fence upside down and turned in the air before it hit the ground because it was pretty high bank track, so it had a pretty high area. Had enough time for him to literally turn the car back over and land on all 4 tires on the other side of the fence and drive it back.
That's incredible.
He's smart enough because when he started going in the air, he shut the motor off because he knew there was no way he was going to land and be able to drive away. So rather than over rev it and blow it up, as soon as he started going in the air, he told us he shut it off. So he didn't hurt the motor at all. When he landed, looked around like, oh, I'm right side up. Flipped the switch, started the car, and drove back.
So how long did you do the car? Did you race then?
He had to go into the feature. I mean the consi, because he didn't finish the heat. Started last in the consi and won it. He was pissed. Pulls in after the consi, and Jim's like, what do you need? What's it need? He says, don't even touch it. This thing is a rocket ship. We're like, yeah, because it just flipped out of the goddamn racetrack.
Right.
It thinks it's a rocket ship. So feature, because he was in the consi, he had to start pretty far back in the feature. Not last, but pretty far back. We're like, Jim's like, well, if we get a top 10, I'll be happy. The car literally shouldn't even be on the track. So race starts. Fair. Yeah, it's kind of fair. He was willing to, live with that. Feature starts. CD goes into turn 1 and 2, takes the top, which is normally designated for guys that have like really big ones, and know their car is good. Goes to the top, comes down past us, passes 3 cars on the backstretch. Literally just blows their doors off. Goes into 3, 4, on the top, passes 2 more cars before he gets to the start-finish line. Goes down the straightaway again. He's lining guys up, doing his little rub and bump and run thing, and goes down the backstretch. He's now in 5th. He started 12th, 14th. In 3 laps. 3 laps, he's in 5th. Jim is like, well, I guess we're going to finish in the top 5. Not 10. Goes passes a couple more cars. Gets in the lead in the race, and there was 5 laps to go, and he takes the lead. Drives away from everybody. Literally left everybody in his dust. Pulls into victory lane, and the announcer goes, ladies and gentlemen, this car flipped out of the track, and now it's in victory lane. CD gets out of the car and says, yeah, I knew it was good. The car was fast, and I was pissed.
It's for an interesting combination.
Yeah, and
so how long did you do the racing for?
Me, 25 years.
25 years.
Yeah.
And I see you've got a lot to show for it behind you.
Yeah, that's all my stuff is on the walls behind me. Yeah. I ran 3 different kinds of cars. I ran a late model, then I ran a modified, and then I moved to an IMCA modified, which is an open wheel car. But that's when I hooked up with Bruce, and it was an asphalt car, IMCA asphalt car, and IMCA was trying to get a foothold in the East Coast. They were virtually, you go out to the Midwest and they're everything. Yeah. Iowa, Minnesota, Michigan, Missouri. That's all their country. So I hooked up with Bruce, and it was an asphalt car, which is kind of weird, odd. But Canada was running them. So he wanted me to start taking it to trade shows. Paid me
Okay.
to paid me to tow it there, paid me to stay, paid everything. And he wanted me to try to sell them. No pressure, just see what I could do. So I was doing a pretty good job. People were interested. They were taking a lot of information. I don't know if they ever bought them. They didn't buy them through Bruce, so they didn't have to. Left-handers sell to anybody. But what it did for me, Carol Lee, is trade shows are everybody you need to have on your car, sponsor-wise,
Yeah.
part-wise. During the morning, afternoon, and evening, I would walk around and talk to all these people that had product, and try to see if they want to sponsor me.
Nice.
I think I did it for almost 2.5 years with Bruce. And one day I approached Bruce and I said, Bruce, and this is after getting some pretty good sponsors lined up. I told him, I think I want to buy the car. I said, but there's a problem. I don't have all the money. He says, well, Larry, we'll just make payments. And I looked him square in the eye and I said, I could destroy this thing in one race. He goes, no, you won't, because we have the ability, being a speed shop, he goes, I have the capability to rebuild it. And I was like, how much is that going to cost me? So I was like, okay, that's the way he feels. So we paid a little bit and I paid it off, and I got some really good sponsors. I actually had a tire sponsor, oil sponsor, gasoline sponsor for my tow vehicle and for my.
That's huge.
I had the oil sponsor with Pennzoil, the racing oil. I could go to any Napa store, walk in and go, I want, my name's Larry Burke. I want some 50-weight racing oil. How many cases do you want? They just give it. Hooked up with the people that make WD-40 and Permatex gasket stuff. And they sent me a box of stuff that they couldn't sell because the labels were crooked. Nothing wrong with it internally, just the labels were crooked. All I did was send them a letter and ask if they had any kind of sponsorship. And they said, yeah, we have a product sponsorship. Next thing I know, I got two cases, actually. One for the product of WD-40 was a separate case and there was nothing wrong with that. They just sent me the case because that's one of their products.
Nice.
And I virtually had, and the company I worked for this company called Charter. They were a conveyor company, and Julio threw me about $1,000 and said, if you need more, just let me know. And I was working for them. Classic Conveyor was their name. Had them on the car. The guys with the motor that built me this motor, I had about almost $20,000 motor. I paid about $4,000 for it, complete. It was at least probably almost $20,000 for that motor, the way it was built. But they had all the parts. They had a block. They had a crank. I put the cam in because I had a particular one. They had the heads. They had all the valves and everything. They had everything for the motor except the carburetor intake, oil pan, and stuff like that, the bottom part. Yeah. They built me this thing, and we didn't dyno it, but I think it probably had in the neighborhood of over 550 horsepower out of a 327 cubic inch engine. That's a little motor.
That's pretty interesting.
It had a lot of power.
So let's talk a little bit about obviously during this time, you get out of Vietnam, you're back
Hmm.
stateside, you're out of the Navy, you're now, you're creating your own tribe, if you will, this
Yeah.
group of like-minded individuals where when it comes to racing.
Oh, yeah.
And
It's a
and
family.
right. And it how did that help you mentally to get past a lot of the emotional and mental things that were still
Oh, they
floating
were
around in your
there,
mind?
but it kind of grounded me because when you drive a race car, you can't think about anything else. You have to think to say 24/7, even more than that. It's almost like shooting mortars. You had to, and being in Nam, you had to be every second, you had to be on top of your game, or you're going to wreck, or you're going to do something, maybe blow it up because you over rev it or do something stupid. So
Right.
it grounded me, I guess. Yeah. And gave me something else to think about.
Right. And so with that, what other, I guess, resources were you able to find for a
Well,
veteran?
at the time, I hadn't started going to the VA for any mental stuff or medication or anything. I basically just was kind of doing that when I first started, doing it because I felt okay.
Right.
I still had anger issue. I still had nightmares sometimes. That stuff didn't go away yet. But then I started getting hooked up with the VA and decided that I really needed to see a psychiatrist um, because things started creeping in that I didn't
Right.
want. Even though I was racing and loving it, having a great time. Every weekend, every Saturday, I was at the track. But that stuff started kind of creeping in, and I was like, I can't handle it on my own. I don't think I couldn't. I didn't think I could. So I started seeing psychiatrists, and I virtually went through them like water. Um, the first ones I started seeing wanted me to be categorized as bipolar, and I virtually just, when they said that, I got up and walked out. I didn't even let them talk to me. I'm like, I'm done with you. You have no idea what I have. And I still have no idea who hooked me up with Paula Bortnicek. I really don't know. I can't remember. I can't, but it was the best thing that ever happened to my life. That woman saved my life.
Wow.
Um, her office that I started seeing her in was in a woman's club. I had to walk into a woman's club. I'm a guy, but her office was upstairs, so I had no choice. I'd walk in, go up the steps, go to her office, sit there. First time I went in, small little tiny office, about as big as maybe even a little bit smaller than my office. And I go in, I sit down. Nobody was outside, so I just knocked the door and she'd come in. And she's asked me specific questions about how I felt. Did I want to hurt myself? That kind of stuff. No, no. And then she said, well, what kind of things are you doing? I told her about the racing. And she says, what about other things? And I went, what do you mean other things? And she says, do you talk about what happened to you? And I went, I didn't say anything. I just kind of sat there. She said, well, here's the thing, Larry. You have two choices, talk or die. And what I think she really meant by the die part is that so many of Vietnam veterans were committing suicide because they weren't.
Right.
They were holding all that shit in, and it got to them, and they were just, I'm done. So my mouth started going. and it never stopped, and it doesn't stop.
And I know I asked you that question before our first show, before part one,
Yeah,
about what was it that made you decide to write your book, and that's what you told me.
yeah,
Um,
it was her, and the fact that 50 years went by, but it was,
mhm.
you gotta talk about it, and I figured, what the hell, I might as well write about it.
Yeah, and you've
Um,
got some really great stories, and it's one of those. I agree with her. You've got to talk. You got to get it out of your
yeah.
head. So, I want to go ahead and put this out there to the chats. If anybody has any questions for Larry, now's the time to go ahead and put those out there, please. Jason had a question a while back. You were talking about um, when you first got to the Folsom,
Hmm.
and you said there was a chief you didn't, you know, there. He was curious if you remembered what the chief's name was.
Oh no.
No.
When I walked in there, I didn't look at anything but his eyes. I wanted to be eye to eye with him. I didn't want to look around the room. I didn't care because I didn't want to be there. I wasn't staying there. That was my bottom line. I was
Right.
not staying in that and being a mess cook. So when he told me about going to the particular place, that's when I just chimed out and said, no, I'm not. If I do, somebody's going to get hurt or get killed, and it's not going to be me.
Right.
So his name might have been on the desk, but to me, it was totally not important. And virtually the commander took care of the rest. I mean, he must have went in there and said, "You don't know that guy. You never met him. You don't know who he is." Well, I never did. He wouldn't have known me because I didn't give him my information. So
I
he
suppose
really
that's
didn't know my name.
yeah. Yeah. So if you could give any words of wisdom for anybody volunteering to join the military today, what would that be?
Well, you got to kind of go with the flow. And if the opportunity comes about that you can better yourself in some position on whatever you're in, Navy, Army, Marines, go for it because it's a plus for you. And it also makes your military time better. You don't feel like you're being drowned by higher ups. I never felt that way, even though I had a lot of people. I was only a E2. I was virtually, I never got any moved up. But it didn't matter to me because I had a pretty important job and I had people that thought I did a great job, even though what I was. They didn't matter that I was in a third class or a second class or a first class and I was going to stay in. That didn't matter. What
Right.
mattered was I did my job and I did it to what they wanted. And it left people off my back too because I did a good job. I didn't have people all over me.
Yeah.
Um, but
So
putting up with it, especially boot camp. I mean, most boot camps are pretty nothing. Um, Marines might be a little tougher. Navy, it was really quite easy. We marched a lot. We stood in the rain, carried a weapon that wouldn't shoot, things like that. But it was easy. It was pretty easy. Um, and if you can get, like I did with A school, if you can get a schooling out of it, go for it. Do it.
nice.
Well, and even if it's most of the time, whatever they put on you as far as your rating, they have a school. Communications, engineering, electronics. There's schools for it. So if you get the opportunity and they ask you to, they ask if you want to go because it's just going to make it better when you get out. If you don't decide you're not going to stay,
Yeah.
you got that education from the military free.
I think that's great. Tanya has a question. She says, "Do you think you were an adrenaline junkie? And if so, did you trade the military for racing? And how does that affect you now?"
Well, I'm definitely an adrenaline junkie because I skated, played hockey too, so it was already there. When I went into the Navy, I kind of stepped back from that part, but when they sent me to Nam, it came on full bore. And I already knew when I went racing that you better be an adrenaline junkie then, or you're going to get run over like my buddy that had,
Yeah.
or you're going to do good because you're going to see things. I actually think I saw things slower, even though I was going fast,
Yeah.
because the shit slows down when your car is right. It doesn't, you're not fighting it. And it virtually things slow down. Um, so yeah, I think I've always been that way, and I'm kind of still. I think I'm still that way. We go to races still, and I just love the speed. I love the noise. I love the camaraderie of these guys. They go 90 races a year around the country. And
Yeah.
you got to get along. You better.
I I hear it in your voice. I absolutely hear it in your voice how much you love it.
Yeah,
Um,
I can't afford it. I don't know how they do, but it's so
yeah.
much. They spend more on one thing than I spent in my whole career.
Yeah.
The trailer's $1 million. I didn't spend that in my career.
Right. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions at the moment. Do you have any final words of thought, Larry?
Yeah, the other thing that with Jim, they paved Flemington, and I again decided to kind of step back. I was working with Bruce, but it wasn't, the shows weren't every week. So I had a chance to work with Jim, and Jim took a car. They called it a dirt asphalt car. It was virtually a modified. They ran on dirt, and they changed it so you could run asphalt. And I started working with Jim on that. And I was very interested in learning more about car setup and that type of stuff. So he kind of took me under his arm and kind of said, this is what we do. We do this because of this. We do that because of that. And then he put me in charge of measuring and airing every single tire that we had. They're asphalt tires, and making a record of what they came out, because you tape them and you know what size they are, what air they had in them, how much air, how much after a race, how much they grew or shrunk, and how much air pressure they gained or lost. So I had sheets. Well, the Jim and the driver, Doug Hoffman, came to me to find out what tires they were supposed to put on for the feature, because I knew everything. I knew all the tires, and I knew what the car had in it, as far as the setup. So they would come over and go, "Okay, Larry, Doug says this is what the car is doing. What tires do we need to make it go faster?" And I'd say, "Well, I think you need put this one and put this and this and this one on." And they're like, "Okay." Well, we won 4 track championships in a row.
Wow.
We ran 25 to 28 races a year. We won 14 to 18 of them every year. One.
Nice.
Doug started, it didn't matter where we finished in the heat, because they were so good. He started in back every feature and won that many races.
That's impressive.
It is. And it's mostly because of Jim and his knowledge of cars, but also I have to be included because I was the one picking the tires. Um, there was a gentleman there named Ralph Rue, great racer, excellent dirt racer. He won features, got asphalt, made an asphalt car. He could not win a race. The car just wouldn't do what he wanted it to do. He'd have to do a lot of stuff to get it to go. He finished second, third, fourth, fifth, never won. So one day, his dad walked up to me and said, "Larry, we're renting the track. You could rent Flemington for like a day. We're renting the track. Can you come to the track and give us some input. And I'm like, yeah, Jim don't pay me. I'm not a paid employee. I'm just this guy. So I said, yeah, sure. So went to the racetrack, Flemington. It was in the middle of the day, very hot. I think it was some summer day. Got in there, walked up to them guys, and the car was sitting there, and I said, "Do you have your sheets?" Because they kept sheets on the car. What shocks they changed, springs, blah blah blah. So they gave me the sheets, and I walked around and looked at the springs. And usually the springs had a tag on them saying what weight they were. Mm-hmm. Shocks, you would have it in the book, what kind of compression it had, what rebound it had. So I told the crew, his brother and his other guy, I said, jack the car up, take all the springs off, all the shocks off, and throw them in the garbage can. He went, what? I said, well, you don't have to throw them away, but this car is sprung and shocked completely wrong. And I said, give me this shock on here, this shock here, that spring there, blah, blah, blah. Ralph standing there and they're putting on the right, last spring was the right front. And he says, Larry, I don't know if I can go that soft on the right front. I said, well, Ralph, what makes you feel comfortable? I said, don't tell me what you had on it because I'll walk out. He says, well, how about 50 pounds more? I'm like, yeah, I'll go with that. But if it doesn't handle, we'll talk about it. So they put the setup on, and his dad had a NASCAR type stopwatch. You stop one, the other one started automatically. So we go and stand in Flemington was a D-shaped track that had little short straightaways in between each corner, 4 corners. So we're standing where you come off the racetrack, and Ralph comes by and he's swishing it back and forth a little bit. Goes past us, and I hear him go down the front straightaway, and he's on it. I mean, he's really hammered down. Goes through 1 and 2, comes down the back stretch, comes into 3, and the car is squeaking. It's going, whoop, 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 whoop.
Wow.
It's not tight. It's a loose. Loose is fast. It's not real loose. It's just chirping. It's just going, boop, 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 boop. And he's driving like a bat out of hell. I mean, his foot was on the floor. Goes past his dad's, starts to watch. Goes down, comes around, comes back through. It's a little bit of chirping. Dad hits the stopwatch. The other one starts. Looks at the watch, looks at me, looks at the watch, looks at me, and goes, Ralph has never gone this fast. And we're talking the middle of the day. It's a hot track.
Yeah. The
other one starts. Comes back by again. No push. That was the problem with this car. We'd pick up what they call a push, and he'd have to brake and turn the wheel because it wanted to go to the fence. Comes back by, and it's not chirping, but he's got it down to the floor. That thing is just going. Passes. Dad stops to watch. Looks at me and he goes, he just beat the time he's never done.
Impressive.
Does like 6-8 more laps. Dad almost stopped timing because the car was just perfect. Wasn't pushing, wasn't chirping. It was just going. Pulls into the pits. Ralph pulls in, gets out of the car, takes his helmet off, walks over to me and gives me a hug and a kiss. Says, Larry, this car is unbelievable. It's a rocket ship. I've never driven a car, even on dirt. I've never driven a car that has this much control. So I was like, well, how about the spring? I said, well, here's the deal, Ralph. If you come to the track, now when there's a lot of other cars are going to be on the track, and you come in after a warm-up, and it's getting a little tight. I said, generally at night, Flemington gets tight. He goes, yeah, it gets tighter. Said, if it's getting tight daylight, change that spring. Put the softer one on. I said, I guarantee you it's going to be better. That weekend, Ralph won the feature.
Nice.
And he won it going away. Basically, when he got out in front, even Doug couldn't catch him. And he gets in victory lane. He goes to pull in victory lane, and his dad and his brother come past me because we were parked down from them. And they're waving me, come on. And I'm like, I'm wearing Jim's shirt, the 44 Junior shirt. And I'm like, I can't stand out there with that on. So his brother throws a shirt at me that is just like a generic shirt, t-shirt. I put it on and go out on the front stretch, and that picture is sitting right there. I'm looking at it right now. And Ralph won maybe 3, 4 more races that year.
Oh, wow.
And every time his dad and brother walked past me, they said, Larry, there is absolutely no way we'd be standing in victory lane if it wasn't for you.
There you go.
And I said, well, there again, there's the family thing. There's the connection with camaraderie. And yeah, I mean, they knew that I worked for Jim or it was on Jim's car, but there was no paycheck.
Yeah.
I wasn't a crew chief getting paid to just work on his car, and Jim didn't care. He wanted people to be competitive.
Right.
That was Jim's thing too.
So Tanya has another question, and she wanted to know about the VA Reassignment Center and how that might have helped you.
Reassignment, as far as
the VA Reassignment Center and how that helped.
The vet center, yes. Mm-hmm. Well, the first one I went to was in Milwaukee, and it wasn't even government funded. It was a bunch of Vietnam vets got together and said, we got to help each other. Mm-hmm. And I was driving down Milwaukee, the main street of Milwaukee one day. I have no idea why, but I was. And I looked over and I saw a sign that said Vet Center. What the hell is that? So I pulled in, walked in the door, and I said, what is this? The guy sitting there says, this is a vet center. All of the counselors in here are Vietnam vets, and we help Vietnam vets. I'm like, check me in. So I started going to that. And again, this was not government funded. It was not an official VA vet center. It was just, they called it the vet center because they help vets, particularly the Vietnam vets. So I started going to that, and that really helped. That kind of got a lot of my anger things like subsided. Not all of them, because I had a little problem with this bar that was next door to the vet center. And I used to go in there and kind of look at the biggest guy in there and ask him what the fuck he was looking at and grab a hold of him and throw him on the floor. So my anger issues were still pretty high. But I had met in the vet center this guy, a Marine. He was about my size, and we became friends. And I would do that. I didn't do it all the time, but just sit down. I look at this guy, and I'm like, what are you looking at? So he would come out and get off his stool or whatever and go over and say, you might want to stay on the ground because if Larry don't take care of you, I will. And so then the bar owner came up to me and said, Larry, you got to stop doing this. You're chasing customers away. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. So I kind of mellowed out with that. I stopped doing that. Nice. But then when I came back to Jersey, I didn't do anything with them, Vet Center. I didn't even know about it. I did start seeing a psychiatrist there, Paula, and virtually she was my connection. And then I heard about the Vet Center and decided to go and check it out. So I went and checked it out, and I got hooked up with a counselor, Jeff Wagner. And he was very understanding about my situation because he was also a jungle vet. He had served in the jungle, not in Nam, but in the Panama, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So he understood jungle shit, which normal people that didn't do jungle stuff, you're not going to understand it. Like Desert Storm people, they don't understand jungle. It's different mentality. So Jeff and I kind of hit it off right away. Darla goes with me. And a lot of times I'll go in there and Jeff will say, "Well, how you doing?" I'm okay. And Darla goes, "No, he's not." Throws me under the bus. So Jeff has been actually become a very good friend. Helps me a lot. I don't take any more PTSD meds.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I get a injection in my neck. It's called the ganglion block. It has a sophisticated name, but that's what it originally was called. They use it for operations too. It the way they do it, it doesn't do like an operation would do, where it numbs stuff,
Right.
makes your stuff. This what it put it into a particular nerve block on one side of your neck, not both, one side, this side, my right. It actually cures the symptoms of fight or flight
Wow.
in a veteran. I have the fight syndrome. So it basically, again, I still have problem. I still have issues with it, but with people, but it really has helped. And we get it every 6 months, and virtually Darla again can say, "Larry, I think it's time for you to get your shot," or one of my friends. Yeah, it's time, Larry.
That's awesome.
But it's not a I'm not medicated.
Right.
And once I get it, virtually I'm pretty good for at least 4 months, at least four. I
That's
gave
great.
the nurse that I see, she's been the same nurse I've seen all the times I've gone. I'm on my sixth one. And the doctor, I signed a book for both of them, and gave it to them because they're my healers, both
Right.
of them.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I've got another comment here. Hang on, from Tanya. She says, "Thanks for sharing your stories. We loved them from the first time we heard them and still love them today. You are our crazy Larry." And then Jason says, "Thank you, sir. I greatly appreciate you coming on and telling your story." I as well am very grateful and thankful that you took the opportunity to come in and have a conversation with me.
mhm.
For everybody out there, if you haven't, please go out, support our veterans, specifically in this instance, Larry Burke. Quiet Heroes, Stories from the Front Lines of the Vietnam War. It is a great read. You can get it on Amazon. You can also go to your website for this. Isn't there there's a
Yeah, I have a website through
quiet
Bluehost.
quietheroes.com, is that
Yep.
right? Okay.
And
and
also
and
Kindle. You can get it on Kindle too.
yes, so
Yeah.
go check them out. And for those of you who are interested, just so you know, when we hit at that 1,000 subscriber mark, Larry has graciously signed several of his books for a giveaway. So please get the word out about this channel. Like, subscribe, hit the notification button. We want to get his book out to as many people as possible. And that includes whether you're purchasing it for yourself or you win one during this giveaway when we hit that number of subscribers. So I want to say, Larry, thank you very, very much
You're
for
welcome. I
for
have
your
one more
time.
thing that the Navy did for me.
What's
I was
that?
only I was an E2, right? And most of the time they want you to stay in. And I never made any effort to get anywhere, rank. But I have a letter in my file. They actually told me that I could not reenlist. They did not want me to reenlist, and
Wow.
I have it in my file. So I don't know why, if it was because I never really tried to better myself as far as my rank, but I was like, oh, I'm not going to stay in anyhow. So thank you very much for reaffirming my my commitment to get the hell out.
That's funny. That's
and
funny.
and Nam, I tried to stay there too. The SEALs, we like I have in my book, we've got pretty good friends with, they were losing their mechanic because they have two boats. They had two other separate boats that they went up and down the rivers in. And their mechanic was leaving country because he was a normal guy. He wasn't a SEAL. SEALs are generally there for a duration of a term. He was just a 1 year guy, I guess. But anyhow, he was leaving. They told me about it. So I put in to come back to Vietnam as their boat repair guy, motor guy. And I also got a letter about, or I don't know if it was a letter. It might not have been a letter. It might have been something direct from an officer or related to me, that they said that they virtually said what Tanya just said, that I was too crazy to want to come back and work with the Navy SEALs on their boats, and that you were denied doing that.
Oh, that's funny.
So I was like, well, I tried. But
There you
then
go.
Tanya put she was the first one to put the thing on me about crazy. And because I was going to their coffee trailer on a bicycle, and she asked Mark one day, said, Mark, who's the crazy guy that comes up on the bicycle? And he's like, oh, that's just Larry. He's a Vietnam vet. He's okay.
Nice. Well, it has been an absolute pleasure. And again,
Yeah,
thank
thank
you
you.
so much. Welcome back. We are happy to have had you on the channel. Welcome home.
Hmm.
And thank you for all of the
I might
sacrifice
be
and
trying to do
service.
another book too, so we'll have to see.
Well, when that happens, you get a hold of me and let me know. But I expect we'll
Yeah,
stay in contact. So
yeah.
for everybody,
Michelle, the person that helped me with this book,
mhm,
she's got her own company now, and I might be talking to her about doing
nice.
something, because there's a lot of stories I didn't tell.
Yeah.
I didn't have time or money.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, for everybody else who's been in the chats, thank you guys very, very much for coming on tonight and being here to help and support Larry. So thank you again. I do have another veteran scheduled for next Sunday, 6 p.m. So please be sure to come on and hit that like, subscribe, notify button if you haven't already. And we will see you all next Sunday, 6 p.m. Central Time. Everybody have a wonderful and safe week.